Hey, this is Julie. Hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast. I've got Russ Papia on this one. He is a president of Prosper Life Care in Wickliffe, Ohio. And Russ's community has grown over 20 basis points, I think, in occupancy, even slightly over 20 basis points in the past year with a new sales director, someone that didn't have extensive sales or senior living background, but someone who was really determined to learn and grow and buy in with that. And he provided the coaching, the training, partnered a bit with us. So talk a little bit about that and why he got into senior living. And you can hear it even in his voice, that the mission of the business of really creating making positive impact for residents and team members and families is really in the forefront of everything that he does. And he talks a little bit about takeaways from the recent NIC conference this fall. He's a really nice guy. He's tells us a little bit about why he got into the business, and we're really glad he did. Check out Prosper Life Care and enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you all. This episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast is sponsored by Yardi. The Yardi Senior Living Suite combines resident care, marketing, sales, finance, business intelligence, pharmacy, and operations, all on a Cloud Forbes 100 ranked, cloud hosted HIPAA and SOX compliant software platform. The suite of products is single stack, uniting on a fully integrated platform. It offers intuitive functionality that helps provide the best care and improved health outcomes across your communities. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz. Today I welcome Russ Papia. Hi, Russ.
Hello, happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. Russ is the president of Prosper Life Care. And you and I met about a year ago at Nick in 2020. Well, what was a year ago? Yeah.
Almost 2 years ago, I think, right?
Was it 2 years ago? Oh my gosh. Time flew so much. It felt like a year.
Yeah.
So Russ, welcome. It's so good. It's great working with you too. Um, Tell us a little bit about Prosper Life Care.
Wonderful. Yeah. So Prosper Life Care was started by my business partner and I. And our mission is simple. It's to have a positive impact on people. So we're working in assisted living and memory care, and our goal is to create an environment that obviously the residents, but also staff, visitors, everybody wants to be there, enjoys to be there, and feels like it's having a positive impact on their life. We started the company about 6 years ago. Took over our first two communities on January 1st of 2021 in the heart of COVID. So I had a big learning experience there. And really just are looking to slowly and methodically grow an assisted living portfolio under the Prosper Life Care brand. Our goal is to do that in markets that need more Medicaid beds or units, whatever you want to call it. But our goal is to serve the forgotten middle, as they call it, and really have as much as possible affordable senior living, and which means also taking advantage of any type of programs that are offered to support people, like obviously veterans benefits, Medicaid waiver programs, PACE, all that stuff. So yeah, we're looking to grow that portfolio. We have a beautiful community in Wickliffe, Ohio right now, that has been very successful, and we're using to kind of grow and launch our platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the forgotten middle. I mean, and that middle continues to widen, and it's gonna continue to widen.
Yeah, as the economy changes and as things happen, obviously we see the difference in wealth that people have, and
Yeah,
so as time goes on, that middle, as you said, widens, and
yeah,
the number of people who can afford the support that they need, it decreases. So we see it as a very large issue that'll be coming in the next 10 years, and that's why we're trying to strategically position ourselves to kind of meet that oncoming demand.
yeah, yeah, and that demand is definitely it's there, and it will only continue to grow. In your mission's to make a positive impact, and you're really passionate about that in for everybody, your residents, your teams, your staff, your families. In your opinion, Russ, like what is one way you feel you're doing that? Either for your team, especially your staff. I was reading in, I don't know, maybe seniors housing business around like staff rooms and in making them more enticing. How many of us have been in a community and the staff room's like this little kind of forgotten sort of closet,
Right,
with
right,
one
yeah,
like broken vending machine. But
yeah.
it's just an example. What's working?
Yeah, no, and it's funny you mention that, because we are currently embarking on a number of different capex projects, and we have the most beautiful building in Wickliffe, and they put a lot of money into it in 2019, so it's all brand new, but there is no employee break room. So
Mm,
actually, we're spending a lot of money to create that environment that they can call their own, because right now it doesn't exist. So yeah, but that is very important, and it will be there very soon. you know our our whole philosophy when it comes, at thinking ourselves as a management company, is that if we take care of the team, our staff, then they can take care of the residents. And if they feel like they're, whatever needs they have, whether financial or beyond that, are being met, then they can more easily focus on our residents. So how do we create the culture that we want within the community? And our core values, our mission, our present, we want the team to know that we believe this stuff, and we're here to make sure that it gets carried out. So one of the things that we do is I meet with every single orientation class, virtually or in person, for 20 to 30 minutes, and I explain to them what our core values mean, and what our mission means. But also, you know I'm a realist, and let them know, like we can have frank conversations, and I'm here truly to support you, not just to tell you what to do. And so at the end of that discussion, and it's pretty well received, depending on the type of staff in there. But it is, at the end, I say, okay, I'm going to make a promise to you, and ask by a show of silence, to make a promise back to me. And that is, I promise I'll do everything I can as president of Prosper Life Care to take care of you, if you promise to do everything that you can within your roles and responsibilities to take care of the residents. And I think, you know, letting them see who we are, how we think, how we talk about this, it plays a big part in that whole process, and letting them know that, like, I do care about you, and I really do want the best for you, so long as you take care of the residents, right? So,
hmm
so that's
hmm
that's 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 done a lot, in setting the right culture. It's not going to improve turnover overnight, right? And that's where we focus a lot on how we're recruiting, how we're interviewing, what our onboarding process is like, and how we're training people and seeing them through, especially the first 90 days. It's very critical that we set the right impression then, and we to be able to retain them So that's where we just had a leadership retreat, and we're really focusing on how do we do it different, and be different than the competition.
Hmm. It sounds like it's really, you start though by letting them know that you know, that you care and that you see people feel seen and heard.
Yeah, yeah,
Hopefully, I mean, that's what it sounds like to me, which is so critical as a core fundamental.
absolutely.
Yeah. Were you this year, or was it maybe fall of last year, maybe recently, it was so not maybe a year ago, hired a salesperson for the Whitcliffe property that it was not, she did not have an extensive sales background, if I recall, right? As senior living.
Right,
And yet she's doing, so not like the traditional sort of maybe resume sometimes people look for, look at, oh, an XYZ amount of experience. And she's doing really well. And your community is doing really well. So you're, first of all, you're assisted living memory care, and
right.
you
Yep,
are focused on that middle market. You do accept Medicaid waiver, but you also have private pay. I know you're looking at that as a metric, right? That balance. I mean, she's done very well, and as the team is working together to grow occupancy
right.
month over month.
Yeah, no, the trajectory's been great. And so yeah, when we took over this community in April of 2024, it was being run by a good company. They were just positioning themselves as class A private pay, and in a market that just could not support that. The and I'm kind of getting a little bit of the background of the transition because it's relevant into the sales director conversation. It was announced that we were taking over, and then it was delayed and for about 6 months. So there was this transition period of the staff there. Everybody kind of knew what was happening, but it didn't happen yet. So some turnover happens in those scenarios. People get worried, and so um, the the sales director that you're mentioning was given a promotion into that role right before we had taken over. So when we came in, and we were working with her, and she was awesome. The reasons that I love her is she goes, you know I, given the right support and a little bit of coaching and training and helping me out a little bit, like, I will be a sponge. I know I could do this well. And so one of some of the things that I'd say the main thing that I saw in her that made me feel confident and willing to kind of support and see this through was her drive and determination to do a good job. Like, she cared very much about how well she was doing. And
Mm,
and to me, it's like, okay, if you that's like first and foremost. If you don't care like about if I'm successful or not successful in a particular task or a role, job, whatever, then you're likely not going to be. I think that's
yeah.
a kind of bare minimum in my opinion, and there's exceptions to the rule, obviously, but um, saw that in her.
Yeah.
And she's passionate about senior living. She very much shares our mission of trying to have a positive impact on people. So it was like, okay, let's and then very quickly she was able to get some results. And it's like, okay, she's moving people in, she's doing all right now, that like this is working. So that was time to kick in, okay, how can we support her, right? And so experience is the best teacher. We all know that, and there's no amount of coaching or teaching that is going to give you 20 years of experience, right? So how can we try to hurry up that experience, right? And so and that's it's funny, we met right before that, you and I, and so kind of had this idea of grow your occupancy in the back of my head, and talked to Kayla about it, who's our sales director, and kind of said like, hey, we can get you some coaching. You can work very closely. There's a program. It's not just like, meet with a consultant. It's like, no, there's a curriculum. um, which to me is very important. I've used a lot of consultants. There's not a basis for it, then it's very difficult. But so she agreed to it, and that really sped up that experience process. The
Yeah.
the work that they were doing together was reenacting calls, and trying to, because one of the things, with the lack of experience, you can be a little bit shy in difficult situations, and so it was practicing those,
Yeah.
right, then,
Yeah.
and working through it, and then developing metrics, and really developing her sales strategy, and the different tools that she has. So that sped that up, and now she's doing fantastic, and is, again, as you said, because private pay is one of the metrics that we look at, is to have a nice blend of private pay and Medicaid. That's what we're focused on right now. And the difference between Medicaid and private pay, it's very different. The sales strategy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's not many options for Medicaid. So it's
Right.
a lot of times you close that sale.
Right. 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 It takes I mean, nothing's easy. Every
Right.
sales work, but that is correct. That private pay is
And there's
a
options.
little bit more work, or a lot
Yeah,
more work. Not that there's
absolutely.
not a lot in the other, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
yeah.
funny, and what we're finding too is, you would think it's somewhat the opposite, but the private pay, you know, um, lead times, like time to close, is actually a little bit longer than our Medicaid, because a lot of times our Medicaid leads don't have many options, and they have an immediate need. So they're, as soon as
Mhm.
but they have the Medicaid process. So
Oh, true,
that
true.
pushes them,
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
little bit, whereas for private pays, we're not, we're seeing that happen a little bit quicker. So it's all
yeah.
very interesting, but to me, it was her drive and determination, and understanding that, if she's very loyal, so investing in her was investing in Prosper as well, because I knew
That's
if
funny.
if she was going to be successful, that she's going to be, by our side the whole time.
Yeah. That you provided her with great coaching, training, the tools, the infrastructure, like you said, a curriculum, if you will, but she was so open to it, so hey, if you please, like please, and really bought in and leaned in. And it's not always easy, and you can provide and provide and provide, but if someone's got a wall up, it's not going to work.
Yeah,
Conversely, you've got someone like, yeah, yeah, I can do this, and who's not being fed anything or not growing. You're definitely going to you might have that initial surge, but you're not going to keep it going consistently. And one thing that I admire about you, and thus her, it's sort of that building that culture is, from my perspective, what I've seen is like you kind of stair step. So, okay, let's this metric, let's get this down pat. Here's the first benchmark, if you will. Okay, great. Now let's look at this. Now let's look at this. Now let's look at this. So you're building on truly much stronger foundation. So one of the metrics is, that private pay Medicaid. It wasn't right away, okay, you must,
yeah,
in your first week of business, it was okay, let's learn discovery, practice in real life. And I mean, I know people have heard me 1,000 times that if you're not willing to like just really practice scenarios, when I hear people like, I don't like that, well, I don't know if anyone loves it, but if you're not willing to really kind of lean into whatever discomfort it is, and for some people, extremely just uncomfortable, you're really not going to, how do you perform, if you will, when it comes down to talking, in
yeah,
quote unquote real life, in the moment. So
right.
she's done really well.
No, and I
All
do
those
have to
years.
give a pat on the back to, some of the other leadership in that building, the executive director, and we have a separate marketing director. Also, both do a lot, because they both have a lot more experience than her, and they work with her, help her, mentor her, and it's created a nice family, and a culture of, we want people to move in, right? Believe it or not, there can be communities out there that don't love move-ins. That's
Believe it or not, yeah.
well, it's a
Yeah,
lot
and I
more
get it.
work,
It's a lot of
right?
work, a lot of work. And
So
people feel it, and there's a feeling, we give a feeling, we're at culture. That's what culture's a feeling. What people
mhm,
do, and do in, day out. People can definitely feel it when they come in. Do you want my mom to live here? Do you care about her? Because that's really what I care about. That's all I care about is, do you care? And
yeah,
that they get a feeling they don't. And like you mentioned, team, it's so critically important. Russ, you mentioned accountability too, and your ED and your marketing director, other leadership, supporting one another and holding one another accountable to the expectations of having a positive impact and supporting the culture and doing what's necessary. What we found of the loads and loads and loads of data is that the companies that hold accountability, that have that system, that have the infrastructure, have longer tenure. That converse, I mean, that might be contrary to some people's thought, but there are companies that have this years, especially on the sales seat, because we know sales can be a position that, well, it is. It's a position of very high turnover.
mhm,
And there's a lot of reason for that, but one is that we're not consistently holding them accountable, that because we care for their success.
yeah.
And that's not easy. Definitely not easy. You were just at Nick. I miss Nick this year. What was your any takeaways from Nick
Yeah. No,
there?
it was a great conference in Austin, Texas, and setup was great, and they did a great job. And I don't know, there was like 3,500 people there. But we've been going since we started Prosper, and I mean, before COVID, during COVID was shut down for a little while, and then getting back into it, was kind of easing into it, and the first couple of Nick conferences passed right after COVID, you could feel the stress,
Mm,
whether it be interest rate pressure or staffing pressure, or at that time, obviously there was a lot of inflation pressure. Everybody was feeling it from every single angle. Excuse me. And so they were good conferences, but there was just, that was kind of the dark cloud.
yeah.
And I'd say, last year, when we met, it felt pretty good. This year though, it was hope, optimism. People are feeling really good. Um, the Nick conference is kind of, it's brokers and dealers and equity groups and all, it's a lot of those people on the deal side, and we saw a lot of new um, equity firms, people who had not have no previous investments in assisted living coming, and looking to start to invest into the industry, which is fantastic. Um,
Yeah,
when
great.
it's things are looking positive when
Mhm.
money starts to flow that way, and that's just the way that it works, right? But it that will be felt all the way down, in every level, and when things are looking up as in the industry as a whole, everybody wins. So the big takeaway was, beyond operations, was there's a lot of optimism about the industry as a whole as far as demand is concerned, and just everything that's coming on the operations side. Everything, a lot of AI talk and technology, stuff going on, and I think a lot of people are trying to, obviously AI is big in the entire world, and so how is our industry going to be leveraging AI, and what type of advancements, improvements will that lead to? So great conference. We're really invigorated. At least me, and I know the people on my team that were there were feeling really good walking away from that, just
Good.
about the
That's
industry.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're solidly into Q4 2025. And you're doing, or maybe you're done, but you're well into your 2026. I know your marketing plan, your sales plan. What what are you looking forward to in 2026?
Yeah, it's budget time, and we're kind of getting ready for all that. And we're in a very fortunate situation at our building where we're doing very well from a census standpoint, revenue. And when I say very well, it's like, no, we're not like 95% occupied, anything like that. It's a 160 unit building. We're 70+% occupied, but it's profitable, and it's doing everything that we need to do from an investor bank standpoint, all these things. So for us, it's like, okay, what do we invest in within the community? Right. And so it's, obviously I talked about we're doing CapEx projects. So, we're putting in the break room, we're putting in a brand new gym with all new step equipment. We're changing a lot of flooring. We're adding a whole resident crafting area in our main atrium. That's going to be fantastic. Making some more space in our memory care so that more of our memory care residents can gather in one space together. We're doing fun things like, how do we improve the building? And then from an operations standpoint, it's like, okay, what do we need? What's going to help us? And a lot of the focus for us is on our team. Again, my promise is I'll take care of you if you take care of the residents. So it's what do we need to do to make it better to work here, to feel
Mm-hmm.
better to work there? And so it's, okay, how are we communicating with each other? How are we acknowledging the good things that are happening within our community and rewarding people for doing those things? It's not we mentioned accountability. I think why accountability leads to more retention is that you give people tangible items to accomplish,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, accountability doesn't mean you're yelling at people or telling what they're doing wrong. It's saying, it's also the opposite end of the
Yeah.
spectrum, where it's, here are your
Yeah.
expectations. When you meet those expectations, I'm going to tell you how awesome you are.
Right.
Right. That
Yeah.
both, and hey, you're doing great here. Let's work on this side of it. Right. And that's gets people motivated and wants them to continue on. So all these, and obviously there's a million different software and technology, and it can get overwhelming to assess. But for me, it's, I don't want to have, also don't want to have technology burnout. you know I can't have my nurses responsible for going into 6 different softwares to do their job. So that's what we're really focused on, not just all the latest and greatest cool technology, but how do we create it so that it's efficient and it works and they can do it easily. So that's a big part of our planning for 2026. And then, as we mentioned before, it's continuing on our, to have that healthy blend of private pay and Medicaid residents,
Mm-hmm.
just to because it creates the right culture. It also makes sure that, if we need to, we can have more private pays. If we want to, we can have more Medicaids, right? It's that lever, it's a control mechanism that we can push when we need to.
Mm-hmm. And you're 160 units, so fairly large community. You're about 70, but you've grown quite a bit this year, right? So you
Oh
were,
yeah. Yeah.
were
No,
at,
when we took
yeah,
over, it was below 50% occupancy.
right. So I
Yeah.
mean that's tremendous growth
It's a
in
big building, right?
yeah,
And
big
when we
building
took it
and
over,
yeah.
they hadn't used the 3rd and 4th floors, right? And so that's been a part of it, of controlled growth. When we came in, our executive director, marketing director, sales director said, we're going to fill this building in the next 12 months. And I said, please don't, because our product will suffer. We don't know what this building needs. Every building, has a little bit of a different size, layout, and that all the contributes to how you staff it, what positions you have, right? So in the past 12 months, as we've grown our occupancy and we're using all 4 floors of our memory, we have 4 floors of memory care.
Yeah.
So we've added in a new position just for, as a memory care activities coordinator, a nurse that's in charge of memory care. We've hired a staffing and retention specialist within the building. So it's like, what do we need within this community to make it successful? If you fill it in the next 12 months, I'm not gonna be able to figure that out, and we're gonna be drowning. But here's the reality. I can make everybody happy if we just grow it steadily, right? That includes external, internal, investors, banks, residents, family members, the community at large, our referral partners. If you just allow me to kind of notch it up a bit, and that's what we've done every month. It's been going up 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And it allows me to say, okay, now we're at this many residents. Looks like we need another laundry person, or looks like we, this is what the building needs.
Sure. Sure. I mean, you're really balancing your growth in your infrastructure, and just listening to it comes through, Russ. It meaning you're kind of going back to the why you started Prosper Life Care was to have a positive impact, to do things slightly differently, and the passion you have really does come through, and you also have a very strategic mind, right? And you're strategically thinking through how do you be successful, and like you said, try to make everyone happy. Most importantly, though, doing things the right way, and having residents,
That's
families, and team
end of the
members.
day.
Yeah.
It's simple. If I
Yeah.
take care, if I take care of the staff and they take care of the residents, everything else will settle itself. We've also seen time and time again, companies grow too fast, right? And adding on 20 buildings this year, and this, that and the other, and rarely is it really successful, right? And to me, it's if we're in the business of managing people, so going slow, making sure that we understand who we are, who we're not, how we grow, no mission creep, no scope creep, very focused. And we use entrepreneurial operating system to help us stay focused on that.
Yeah.
And so that's where we continuously come back to mission, core values. How are those driving our decision making process?
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, a shout out for where's my book? The traction. We
Traction, right?
well,
Yeah. So,
systems, processes, get a rocks or quarterlies,
yep.
staying focused. Yeah, because it can get it can be reactive, grow too fast, not grow quickly enough, not be attentive to the accountability. There's a lot. But if you keep it what you're holding yourself accountable, the company accountable to, it's simple, but you got to keep going back to those foundational
Right.
building blocks. Then you're truly growing the way that you want to grow,
Yeah.
which is it sounds to be very, very focused to make that positive impact. And then lastly, Russ, because you've got a business to run, I really appreciate you joining me today. I didn't ask you, at least not on the podcast, what drew you to senior living in the first place? Because you're obviously you could do lots of things, and then you're a smart guy, young
Yeah.
guy.
No.
Why senior living?
Yeah. And prior to starting Prosper Life Care, I had my own consulting practice, and I helped companies figure out who they are, and then help them grow strategically and in that capacity. And then a number of different things kind of popped up for me that were like, okay, I'm ready to do this for myself, really. And so I was looking at I like healthcare. my mom is a retired nurse. My dad's a retired director of sales in the hotel industry, and I like to tell people that like healthcare and hospitality, kind of were a part of growing up. And both of them worked full-time jobs. It was a part of it. And assisted living is that right now that perfect blend of healthcare and hospitality. So it kind of came a little bit naturally. And there's forecasted demand. Like there's all these reasons why, from a financial standpoint, people would look at senior living. Another thing that I was considering, and I love working with people. I love taking care of people. That our mission statement is not just a professional mission statement. It's a personal one for mine. And I wanted, you could start an app and do technology. There's all these things, but for me, my unique value proposition, where I get the most joy and most purpose, is working with people. And I see healthcare as that field of it's going to need people. It's going to serve people for a long time. So that kind of pushed me in that direction. And then, as I mentioned, just the perfect blend of healthcare and hospitality is why I loved assisted living and memory care and just leading people. But it's also a challenge, and it's a lot of people do it a lot of different ways. And I felt like we could come in and figure out, okay, what's our way of doing things, and be successful with that. So that's in a very short, I could talk 20 minutes on that topic. But if I had to abbreviate it, it's that in one sentence, it was the place that I saw that would allow me to fulfill my mission the easiest, of having a positive impact on people.
I love it. Russ, thank you so much for joining me today on the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. It's so good to see you. And it's great for all of you to listen in. We really appreciate that, and stay until the very end. Like, share, and subscribe so that others can reap the benefit of professionals and experts and great, great people like Russ, who are drawn, thankfully, into senior living. And I will speak to you all next time on the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. Thanks, Russ.
Thank you, Julie.
This episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast is sponsored by Yardi.